fans, and welcome back to my channel. I just watched the brand new Spike Lee directed movie BlacKkKlansman, a movie I've been looking forward to for a long time. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score, and I have reviewed a bunch of movies over the last 3 days. The Meg, Crazy Rich Asians, and The Package. Please go check those out, but right now we're talking about this movie. Let's get into it and keep this review shorter than usual. So BlacKkKlansman, let's start with the cast because this cast is so dynamic and good, and Denzel Washington's son gives such a great performance, something I never knew could come from, well, not the family in general because we know Denzel, but his son just does such a good job, and his chemistry with Adam Driver, every time the guy pops up in a movie, I get excited to see it, and he's one of the reasons that this thing drew me in so much. He was great, their dynamics were great, the relationships that most of the characters had were really good, and somebody else who surprised me, Topher Grace, really good, and the guy who was from I, Tonya last year, I can't remember his name, but oh my goodness, he comes out of nowhere, and his character was hilarious. He gave a good performance. Now, I definitely need to hit on this. A lot of people are going to see this movie as heavy-handed. Whether you agree or disagree with the message, there is definitely a message there, and it is definitely coming across on screen. But going into this movie, seeing the trailer, you kind of know that that's coming. You can see the social cues in there, and if you walk in, end up getting really offended at it and not like the movie for those reasons, I think you're missing other points of the film, because yes, some people will not like the message, not necessarily the message, because I think if you're human, you should like the message that we should all love each other and be together. I just think that's the truth. But maybe Spike directs that message towards certain people who are watching this movie, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of that fact, because I don't like when you're calling people out. Let's keep the film in focus, but I like what they did with the message, and I think the ending, some people aren't going to be on board for it, and while I think it was a little bit too heavy-handed, it didn't go to the point to where it offended me, and I like the fact that that was in there because I think we all need that as human beings right now. Let's move away from that right now and talk about how good the movie was. The filmmaking here was brilliant. I think it might be Spike Lee's, maybe his best movie in a long, long time. It's not necessarily my favorite because movies like Malcolm X, I mean, they're just so good, but this movie is up there. I will say it's 100% his best in a few years. The way that he interjects humor into this story, yet keeping it serious. I always talk about tone and how in a lot of movies it's very inconsistent, but here, even though the tones tend to shift, it does it in a way that flows so good and it doesn't mess up the pacing of the movie. The pacing here is, oh my gosh, I loved it. There's one point where the film slows down. Other than that, I was engaged from beginning to end. I had to use the bathroom really bad, and I always know how to test a movie. If I have to use the bathroom and I don't want to leave, I'm locked in and having a good time and I'm emotionally connected, and I didn't really want to leave, even though I had to or I would have peed on myself. And I didn't really notice any technical aspects that I didn't like. I thought the cinematography was good. I liked the shot selection, the compositions, the color, everything about it was just cool to look at. Now it starts off, there were a few here and there that kind of bothered me, but overall I thought it looked good, it sounded good, I liked the story, I liked the plot, I liked where it went. I'm not going to spoil anything about that, but there's some pretty high tension when people start to figure certain things out, and by the end of the story you're really rooting for these characters. In terms of negatives, like I said, it did slow down in parts. There's one scene towards the end, all I will say is initiation. That scene lasted a little too long for me. It cut back and forth between the blacks and the whites, and I'm just like, okay, we need to cut the fat a little bit because I think this is going on a bit too long. I think the movie could have been like 140, 135 as opposed to pushing 2 hours, but you know what? That's just a minor complaint. Well, there were some shots in there, especially at the beginning, of just like landscapes, a couple that were thrown in, and I was like, all right, I'm not really feeling these shots in particular. Let's get back to the story and what's kind of serving the purpose here. And yes, I did say a bit heavy-handed towards the end. I'm not saying it was in your face because I don't like when movies do that, and it usually takes it down a couple of notches. What I feel about the heavy-handedness is not going to take this movie down. And whether I agree or disagree, that doesn't matter. I just don't like when you call people out that exist today in real life. Some people are going to dig that, and whether you're for him or anti him, that doesn't matter when it comes to reviewing this movie. If it was anyone, unless it's, you know, like Hitler or something, you can call him out as much as you want, but I just don't like when movies do that, whether it's Democratic or Republican. That always strikes me and rubs me the wrong way. And as we get into my score, none of those negatives really took the movie that far down. It is definitely one of the better films I have seen this year, and I was so emotionally hooked. And it's weird because these usually aren't the movies that I kind of latch onto, but this one in particular I thought was super well done, and I really enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would. I'm going to give BlacKkKlansman an 87%. This was a cool film. It's got a good groove, a good jive, good pacing. Everything about it is just straight up cool, and I think if you go and watch it, you will get something out of it, if not really enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Keep an eye on my channel for more stuff like a Q&A and a special countdown coming very soon. I'm going to get back into my lists. You guys be sure to leave some comments on what you want me to talk about. You guys are the absolute best, and I will catch you later. This is Ron Stallworth signing out.